That's one thing that I noticed with a lot of people who are trying to trade. They're like, "Oh, I missed the entry." Bro, if you would have just came in, you still would have caught the move.
GM friends, and thanks for joining into DeFi-Logic's TA Tuesday call at 12 p.m. Mountain Time every week. Our server members enjoy weekly community calls, request chart reviews, and join in live discussions. So join us today. The video description has the link below. In today's community call, Eddie is going to show you his trading strategies, explain them thoroughly so that you can one day build the 6 billion portfolio that Eddie has. Just kidding. He doesn't have 6 billion, but he does pretty well. And with that, here's Eddie.
I think if I was at 6 billion, I'd be controlling the world at this point, maybe one day. So what I'm going to do is just go over a trade that I took. I entered it Sunday night and it played out basically perfectly. So I want to show everyone like what my thought process was and like how it played out. And there's a bunch of confluence in it and stuff. And it happens to be one of the top gainers on the day too. So that part is just luck, but kind of isn't because it's following the narratives that I've been talking about. So it's with Pendal. Pendal is an ETH-related coin. I've been on and on about ETH betas for freaking forever. And when you look at it, it's like I was saying on my watch list, it's the top gainer of the day. And it was a pretty clean setup. I closed it out for 3.3 R. So I'm out of it right now. I considered taking a runner, but I just wanted to pay myself. And there's a new setup that it's forming anyway, so I can get back in. But here's what it is, and I'm just gonna go to a fresh chart to show like what the thought process was behind it all. That way you can do it yourself, right? So basically I was going through my weekly review, coins I wanted to trade, mostly ETH coins, right? And I noticed, I think I was looking at it first, maybe on the 12H or the daily, yeah, 12H. So it was coming in here, it was Sunday night, it was basically like around here, and I said, well, this coin is trending, right? It's in an uptrend, very clearly, and it's running this significant low, mark out the low, and I was like, if it's going to continue going, this could be a nice setup. And it was right around, it was Sunday night, it was this candle, I think, when I was looking at it, okay? So then, really what I wanted, though, was shoot a little push higher than to get back in when it came back down, because we're right here, this high created, but it closed below this like level, so it really hadn't created any market structure shift. And basically what that is, this is my high right here that created the low, and eventually I wanted it to break market structure, which what that is, that's an hourly close, because I'm on the hour time frame to execute, right? I wanted an hourly close above it to confirm a shift in structure or a shift in condition. It's going from a downtrend to now it's going to an uptrend, okay? Once you get that, you could just buy, so it closed above it right here, you could just buy the retest of it, but I ended up just buying the retest of this one right here. Let's go back to the chart real quick. So I'm gonna erase this because I feel like it's messy. So basically it's that right there, right? So here's the one I had again, right? So it broke the structure, came in and retested, so I actually didn't get in on that one. I came in on the second one, which that's what I drew out. I was okay, I wanted to break the structure, come in and retest, and then come down again and buy that dip, which that's where we ended up entering it on Monday night. Watching this low right here, it was getting run. It already was ran, and it started closing above it again, but we needed the market structure to shift back into my favor. So I needed closes up here for it to confirm that it's, instead of going down into these lower areas, it wants to go back up and run the highs, okay? So we got that, and then it chopped around as I anticipated, and then we get in over here, right? Goes above, dips back down. You could have got in here when it retested that again. I wasn't paying attention at that time. Came back up again, luckily came back down one more time, gave me that entry there. Now, the other confluence in this entry is I like to use what I call RSI Resets. So I'm trading on the 1 hour, right? When it comes down here, you'll notice that the RSI it needs to just be around the 50 zone. So since it's a little bit below, that counts. If it's a little bit above, it counts. It doesn't count if it's like way up into the oversold or like overbought region, or I think that's opposite, oversold, whatever. It doesn't count if it's way up here or way down here. It needs to be around the 50 region, okay? So it's nice that on the entry, it starts pushing away off the RSI, and you can see that it forms like this nice little, right? That was just an extra bit of confluence on that. Then go back to the one that I was just drawing out for you guys. We get in. Since it reclaimed, you can use these lows that it created as your stop loss, okay? Because basically if it starts trading below the lows that it created, your ID is invalidated. There's a chance that it comes and stops you out and then goes up again. At that point, you would just get in on this part with a new stop loss, right? Because trading is all about probability. Sometimes you're wrong. After that happens though, the target is the look up here. I want to say I had mine like around here somewhere. So that was the trade setup. So it was a reclaim. We had the significant low on the 12H. Saw price was below it and it was starting to try to reclaim it on the 1H. Once it gave us our structure break, that means that we were good to buy the retest of it. And I think technically speaking, the way this strategy actually works is then you look for these like little demand order blocks things to put your entry in. And if you did that, you would have caught the Pico entry. I was a little bit late to it, but that's one thing too that I noticed with a lot of people who are trying to trade. They're like, oh, I missed the entry. Bro, if you would have just came in, you still would have caught the move, right? So yeah, I was a little bit late from the Pico bottom of it. We still catch the mean of the move. I didn't get the 3.9. I think I had my stop loss a little bit lower because it was like the middle of the night for me. I had 3.3 R on the trade. I was like around here. So it worked out really nice. Another thing on this too, I don't use, but I do notice it. Again, we'll mark out our significant low. Is it's forming this, I don't really know what you call it, this little flag, which is a bullish pattern that a lot of pattern traders will use. You'll see people draw lines like this, and basically that just means that they're anticipating it to break out, retest, and then go back in. So you could have even done it as the pattern trade and got basically the same exact idea, right? If I was a pattern trader, I probably would have gotten in maybe on this retest because it broke out right here, and you dip your low, you dip your stop loss like probably right here. So it probably even worked out to be a slightly better trade. Yeah, it did. It would have made you sweat though, and almost stopped you out if you did it that way. Or you could just go manual stop loss because it comes in and retests it again, right? So it's just like the same, just a different way to view the same stuff, basically is what I'm saying. Now though, it's forming a new setup again. This is how I'll build positions. I'm completely out of it now, but if you would have left some of it, it's forming a new one on the 4 hour. So you look at this, and this is basically all just demand. It's like another way to call support, basically, right? And you guys watch me draw these huge boxes all the time, but at this point, I'm looking for it to dip down into these levels. I like to bid the wicks, so I'll probably start bidding on the wicks and then onto the closes as well. With the same idea of I don't want the price to get back below the significant low. If it keeps dipping into it and dips below it and then turns it into resistance, at that point, you got to get out. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Just recap, I use 12 and H1 normally, see the significant level that's getting ran. I say this is an uptrend, right? That's the most significant part first of it all is, are you in an uptrend or a downtrend? This coin is in an uptrend. It's an F coin. It's everything I want to be paying attention to. It comes in, sweeps this low, it reclaims the low several times, right? And the key thing is it breaks the market structure as well. And then you start buying the dips on it with your stop loss being the low it created. And you target the liquidity, okay? That's a really useful setup. I trade it a lot. It's basically just a reclaim. Works really well in bullish conditions. It can work the opposite way in bearish conditions. Another setup that I like to play a lot that I'll go over, I haven't taken one recently on it, but I just want to see if I can find it, maybe even on this coin. Be right here. Let's look. I'm going to mark out this low so I find it when I switch time frame. Yeah, let's see if I find it again. So I like to use, again, 12H and H1, okay? I like to trade swing points, okay? I'll use 3 candles for the swing. So here's the swing right here. 3 candles creates the swing. This is a textbook one because the middle candle should be lower. Like it should be the lowest one. So it needs to be like a candle, one that goes lower. This is going to be an inappropriate looking picture. And then another candle that goes like that, okay? And then same thing with the downtrend, or those are ugly candles, but you get the picture, right? So for the opposite, to look for shorts, this is for looking for longs, candle, lower one, higher one, candle, higher one, lower one for shorts, okay? Anyways, here's my swing point. Eventually it makes a new swing high over here, right? So there's a lot of ways that you could trade this. Way number one would be scale down to the 1 hour, and how do you get in? Well, it's a lot of the same concept. It is the same concept. I trade the same concept over and over again. That's all I do, technically. But same idea. If you're paying attention, you could probably spot it out by now, right? So here's my swing low. I'm on my 1 hour. Where's the high that created the low? So it's a little bit harder to read, but I would say it's this one. Actually, I'd probably call it this one up here. Potentially this one. I could have even been aggressive and probably would have done just a reclaim right here, but we'll just use this concept still. So it takes a while to play out because I'm using 12-hour levels. So here's the high that created the low, and I need that to close back above it to get in, okay? We have a close above it. You can buy the retest of it. I go to Bitcoin because I do this a lot on Bitcoin, actually. Probably a chart that I haven't been trading. All right, let's find an example of this other strategy that I use a lot. I want to say that it happened around here. Where am I? Which one? 2, 3. I caught a decent amount of this long, and I think it was with this strategy. So let me just see if I find it or not. I mean, it's different from what I was talking about, but it's the same idea. So it doesn't follow the rule that I just spoke about, but it's the same idea here. So I have swing lows being created, right? And I have this one right here, I would say is the high that created the low. So then what you're waiting for, oh shit, that's gonna be so hard to find. That's the hard part about like back testing stuff, because like the screen just goes all crazy on you. I think there's a way to lock the screen, but I don't know how. Maybe it's that one. Yeah, here we go. I remember I took this trade. I tweeted about it even. Well, I just talked about being bullish here. So here's the thought process. I see that we create a low, and here's my high that created the low, right? And then so if you zoom in onto the 1 hour, basically what the setup was that I took, it was, do you remember at the end of September, we were still downtrending, right? So this is into October, we're still downtrending pretty hard. So I played it pretty conservatively. Hope it stays. Oh my gosh. So this section right here, people call this like a breaker or something. I don't really know what the proper name is, but basically it's just a candle that was involved in the high and then ends up breaking the market structure, right? So basically what the whole idea with this, we use the bottom of that candle to make your stop loss and say, okay, well, if we really are bullish on this, I'm gonna buy the retest of that and just aim higher. I wanna say my initial target was like right here on it, so 1.48, and then I think I ended up aiming for this one too. So another 4.5 R. Depending on how much you take profit, it was like 3 R trade. So let's talk about how that works. Here's like basically the same thing, but just on Bitcoin, which I do it a lot on, right? So we see that a low is getting created. I look for the high that created the low, mark it out, and then you could just bid the retest to be more conservative about it with the stop below this little section of the candle, okay? You could be even more conservative and say, I'll just keep my stop loss right there so I can go to bed. You're still pulling 2R out of the trade. I was a bit more aggressive with this setup and played it like that. Actually, I think I probably did two now that I remember it. I think I had one position with a stop loss like that and one like that on 2 different accounts. See if we can find another one. Okay, see if this worked. Would have tried. So same idea. This one actually followed the rules. 3 candle swing, right? Oh man, I'm so mad that it's gonna move away at this point when I switch to hourly. I go. Here it is. Okay, so I have a swing low. This one's a little bit more tricky. I don't know if I would have played this one, to be honest, because I had relatively equal lows, but let's just see if it would have worked anyway, right? So this was a 12H swing low, probably using, this is like where it comes to just your discrepancy, because this is just like a weird candle here. So probably would just be marking that as the market structure. Close above it. I don't know if it ever retested though. Nope, would have got left unfilled on that one. But just pointing it out, like that's the idea of that setup, right? So hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if that's making any sense or if I'm just rambling on about nonsense that's not helpful to anybody. And then we'll look for one short example. It's hard to find them when I don't remember this price action from September that clearly. Or I think actually there was a short that, I want to say it gave a short setup recently. So let's just look. Maybe over here. Here we go. This is one. So I have a swing high here, sweeping some of these highs, right? Using the same stuff. Like, okay, swing high, sweeping some of these highs, closing below, so it's a swing failure pattern. I'm in on the 1 hour. Let me pull up a fresh chart, one that I'm not like trading on. This will be the last one. I want to say this one probably worked out. All right, swing high, sweeping all these highs, creating an SFP. An SFP is when the price pushes it up, but it closes below. Swing failure pattern, okay? I'm in the 1 hour. Where's my low that created the high? I would say it's this one right here. Here's my low that created the high. You got closes below it, therefore it broke market structure. There's two ways to play it. Way number one is you bid this like little demand block, like I mentioned earlier. It's a more aggressive. Your stop loss goes right above the high in a short scenario. You target liquidity. Okay, I would be targeting like this with that, and maybe leave a runner for this stuff down here. You take profit 1, what it netted you 3R. You take profit 2, an additional 1R. You take profit 3, an additional 0.8. It's been a pretty good trade. A lot of times I just bid on the market structure level, so it gives you less return, but it's a little bit, you get filled more often, right? The same idea, stop would be the high right there, the same targets. So 2, 2.7, and 3.3R on that. So hopefully that makes sense. Just to review this, I tried to go over a few different examples of setups that I look for in trade. It's basically the same stuff always. Pretty much you just want to find the highs and the lows. If it's a bear structure, point out the high, look to see where it breaks the structure, because technically this is a low, technically this is an uptrend, right? And then it breaks structure to the downtrend. The way to key in on it is by looking for those areas where it starts sweeping highs. It went away, so I'll just talk about this one even, right? You key on it because it's sweeping highs and closing below it. I bet you this one plays out too. Then you just zoom down onto it. You zoom in after you notice your sweeps. Look for your closes below. In this scenario, below the low that created the high. Retest. You buy the retest or short the retest, and you target the liquidity. Okay, I think that's it. This is like the bread and butter that I use, and then the other one on Pendal is another strategy that I use a lot. So worked out nice. And just to reiterate point, now the next trade on this one is buying this whole zone right. Stops below here, aiming for new highs. That's the idea. So it's pretty simple if you make it simple. Hope that helps. Hit me up in the chat if you have questions.
Cool beans. Thanks, Eddie. That was very informative, and I will be reviewing the video on YouTube. I save it to my PA playlist. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining. To everyone in the server who joined. Saw some new people in here, so that's cool. And if you're not in the server and you're watching this on YouTube, you can join our server. The link is in the video description below. We have a lot of gigabrains in here, like Eddie. And we focus on not only technical analysis, but fundamental analysis, legacy markets, NFTs, pretty much anything and everything you could imagine that correlates with crypto and related markets. That's what we're doing in here. So come join us today, and we will see you soon. GN, friends.
Join us next week in Discord for TA Tuesday at DeFi-Logic.com.